Greetings all you manics and minds that are crimes. Welcome back to another Warframe weapon showcase. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Glaxion Vandal. Now, this is a weapon that I rather like, and I have a ribbon for that makes this weapon a lot stronger than without a ribbon, of course. But here's the thing with the Glaxion Vandal. Without a ribbon, is it good? Yeah, it's serviceable. The only real issue is that it doesn't have the greatest critical chance, and its base damage is a little bit lacking. So that's kind of really the only issue without a ribbon that I have with a weapon. The base damage, either the critical chance needs to be higher, or the base damage needs to be higher, or the critical multiplier needs to be higher. Anyway, so I have 3 different builds for this weapon, and I will be showcasing all of them in Steel Path. So the first build is pure viral. So here is the ribbon. It doesn't have a minus, but ribbon distribution of 4 out of 5. If that multi-shot was heat and then minus damage to whoever, or minus slash puncture, whatever, because this thing is purely elemental, that'd be wonderful. But damage, multi-shot, and critical chance brings the critical chance up to 55% with point strike. Without point strike, it's 34%. So this is pure viral right here. I have 2 other builds that I will show, and let's just go ahead and show what this weapon does. So now the Glaxion Vandal is of course an ice ray. So anyway, it has a bit of an AoE around it, and you can increase that with things like Prime Firestorm or as a fulmination. Anyway, so this is pure viral against Corrupted Heavy Gunners level 145. Now, once we go into the Steel Path, you'll see how it performs in the Steel Path. So this is pure viral. That isn't horrible. So technically, this weapon out-damages my Vermi-Splicer kit gun. But also, the Vermi-Splicer has more AoE and more critical chance and more, not more status, but close to more status, or similar status. So I think this weapon has a range of like 25 meters, I want to say, without upgrading the range. So let's actually test that right quick. So this enemy is 25 meters. It's hitting him. Let's go back to 30 meters. It's hitting him. 35. Not hitting him. So it has a range of like 30 meters. That's honestly pretty damn good for a beam weapon. If the beam weapon has less than 20 meters of range, it feels kind of weird. It doesn't function very well in my mind. So now the next build is cold and corrosive. So the problem that I have with this weapon, because it has innate cold, you can't sort of work around that very easily. If without a ribbon, you can do heat and viral, but because this ribbon does not have heat or toxin on it, I cannot do heat viral. As much as I would love to, I simply cannot, because there just isn't room. I do not want to take off point strike unless we're going for the last build, which I'll show. I am not taking off Prime Shred no matter what. And I definitely do not want to take off Vital Sense. And of course, all the elementals stay. So you could be saying, well, add more Forma to this weapon and replace the 60-60 mods. No. Even though it's a beam weapon with very high tick rate, this is 18.6 ticks per second. I'm pretty sure that's how fire rate works on beam weapons. I could be wrong. But either case, heat, corrosive, and cold is not that bad of a combination, because this thing is going to be slowing enemies to a motherfucking crawl. And of course, it's got corrosive, which is very good against ferrite armor, which most Grineer have. Not all, but the ones that have alloy armor are going to be slightly weak to cold. It's like 25% damage. 25% more damage. So you see, of course, this performs better than viral because I am hitting them with their weakness. Now, if you're going to be stripping the enemy's armor, then pure viral, of course, is going to give you more damage. But if you're stripping the enemy's armor, it doesn't really matter what you hit them with, because Grineer, yes, they have a lot of health, but the armor really, really affects how much damage that they take. Of course, that's what armor does. It protects. And yeah, the AoE on this weapon is decent. So if can I actually see the stats? I want to say the AoE is like 2 meters, something like that. No, I can't see that, but I think it's like 2 to 3-ish meters around when the beam actually impacts. And I do not think punch through affects this weapon's damage all that much, or at all, in fact. So just like the Ignis Wraith, you cannot see the AoE of it. So this is the final config. Now this is viral with heat, viral with hunter munitions. So I took off point strike because I cannot get rid of the ribbon. This is where it would help if this weapon had like toxin on it, because then I could get rid of one of these mods. Or I guess I technically could if I put another format and then put on point strike there, but then I'd be losing base damage. Or if this thing had a negative, it would be better. But whatever. So 34% critical chance and high tick rate means that this thing is going to be slashing a lot with hunter munitions. But is it better than the pure viral? Kinda. And you'll see what happens when we actually go into the steel path. So yeah, these bleeds are kind of huge, and there are a lot of them. They're like 9,000 at their peak. So, you know, this is definitely an option, because this thing is essentially right now a pure viral beam. But here's the thing. Viral by itself, the damage, not the status, the damage is mediocre. So yeah, you can see how far. I mean, I don't even need to hit the enemy to kill him. So yeah, the Glaxion Vandal opposed to the normal Glaxion has AoE. So let's actually go ahead and take each and every one of these into Steel Path just for about 2 minutes each. It's important that I do this just for brevity. Should I pick a frame that's going to affect damage? I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to stick with either Neja or Oberon. In fact, I'm going to go Oberon, because why not? And we shall go into the Steel Path and show what this weapon can do against really high-level tough enemies. So, of course, we're going into Selkie in Sedna, because this is my testing grounds. And this is the pure viral setup. Nothing but viral and the crits. Now, having more critical damage would definitely help this thing's damage. But whatever. So, if I can get headshots, yeah, you see that it does pretty good damage, so I have to get my armor up. And against the little guys, yeah. You see, it's doing decently well. Now remember, these dudes have 4 times the health and 4 times the armor of normal enemies, even at this level. So the fact that it's able to do this is actually very, very impressive. The Ignis Wraith cannot do this. I've tried. Maybe if you have a really good ribbon for your Ignis Wraith, then it will outdamage this weapon. But mine don't. So that is it's obviously doing very, very well. Now, obviously, I could have a max arcane rage to give you more base damage, or is it arcane avenger that gives critical chance? Or have an Ardatzva Kavat or a Smita Kavat and giving critical chance that way. The problem with them is that they would die basically instantly as soon as enemies start shooting. So now, if you play Ember, you could just use the Fireball Augment, and you will get the heat. And of course, if you're playing Ember and Steel Path, you are going to be blasting enemies' armor off. So this is going through the enemies fairly well. These guys are, like I said, extremely, extremely tough enemies. And wow, the enemies are really not dropping any any fucking ammo, apparently. They're not dropping rifle ammo. Why? Whatever. But yeah, as long as you can get headshots, it's gonna kind of carve through these enemies pretty quickly. So that's enough of that. Now let's go to the cold corrosive setup. Alright. Now this will be the cold corrosive setup. So the enemies are going to be slowed to an absolute crawl, which is definitely a good thing, but I feel like cold could use a buff or two. I feel like it should do more damage, to be honest. I feel like it should ignore armor or something, I don't know.
Life support has been cut off. They're trying to choke you out. Hold on. Sending auxiliary life support.
So yeah, it just stops enemies pretty much dead in their tracks. And is this out damaging the pure viral? I'd say kind of. It's definitely making the enemies super slow, like ultra lethargic, but yeah. But as soon as the enemies get hit with the viral from the Panzerwelbepfeile, you really see the damage start to shine through. And this is actually fairly realistic because, you know, I use the Panzerwelbepfeile a lot. So yeah, once the viral starts spreading, you could say it's kind of cheating because there's a cap buff. But I mean, if you're using the Schmiedekavat, you're going to be getting orange crits. And that is going to destroy. Because it's going to make the critical multiplier go up. And not to mention if you're running hunter munitions, then you're just getting nothing but slashes pretty much all day. So, yeah. Now, this is very strong. But really, especially once the viral starts spreading. And yeah, you see the AoE there. It doesn't arc between opponents, it has an AoE. Will there ever be a other Glaxion with the Corpus Liches? Maybe. I could kind of see it, but at the same time, kind of can't because we know that we're just going to be getting those briefcase guns, which is a bit unfortunate. So, is this outperforming my Gaze kit gun and my Vermisplicer kit gun? I don't know about the Gaze, but the Vermisplicer, maybe? I don't know. I would have to test both of them extremely thoroughly, and I just haven't. Kind of haven't felt like doing that. But what this really is doing, other than ripping through these opponents pretty damn quickly, is slowing them down to a fucking crawl. Because the status chance of this weapon is so high, and the tick rate is so damn high, that it basically just instant 10 stacks of cold. So they are getting absolutely just frozen, and it breaks them apart if they get killed by a cold proc, which happens quite often. So, weapon for Necros? Maybe? I mean, it'll definitely count towards his Desecrate, so that is a thing. Okay, here's a large group of them, and I'm just gonna...
Another life support capsule is now available.
Okay. Now let's go back and do the final build. The viral hunter munitions build, where it's nothing but pure viral and hunter munitions. So, but the only issue is I'm going to be working with 30% critical chance and not 55% critical chance. So, 20 critical chance doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're working with hunter munitions, it kind of is. Because it's not, you don't get guaranteed slashes per critical hit. That would be broken beyond broken. I mean, hunter munitions is already, people use it as a crutch mod, and you really shouldn't. You shouldn't rely on a single mod. I say as I'm using a ribbon, but, you know, you do you. Whatever tickles your fancy. So I should get ready. I'm not worried about my energy because these guys will be hitting me hard enough. And yeah, they're just... So if I can keep the beam on an opponent for a decent amount of time, they should bleed out. Now, is this doing well? Yeah, it's doing decently, but now that I can actually hit a more large group, we'll see how quickly I can tear through them. So you see, yes, Hunter Munitions, it's doing its thing. It's slashing, it's bleeding them dry. But I think that the Cold Corrosive is actually doing a bit more damage, and I think that's because they have armor. And the Cold Corrosive is combating two types of armor very well. The Corrosive is dealing with the Ferrite armor, reducing it like crazy, and the Cold is dealing with the alloy armor and boosting damage for like 25%, and also slowing the enemies down. But this is working fairly well. So the Glaxion Vandal with a ribbon like this is honestly a damn good weapon. It's fine without a ribbon. Do not get me wrong. You could definitely pick a worse beam weapon, I guess. Even though I hate using that term because this game is so damn open-ended that it does not really matter what you use. Because the enemies are brain dead anyway, and a lot of people aren't really going to be spending a lot of time in Steel Path, I assume. I guess people are just going to be here to test their weapons and try and min-max everything to hell, which I kind of don't care about, but I like the Glaxion Vandal, so. Yep, Phoenix Renewal, oops. Oh, I don't have Arcane Guardian on because I sold it. I have another one, damn it. Damn it. But even without Arcane Guardian, Oberon is really tanky. So, just a little more. I mean, you can judge it how you wish. Like, what build you want to go for is completely up to you. Against Corpus, I think you could skew it so you can have, like, Toxin and Magnetic, I think. And that will give them a complete just kick to the junk. Because you're going to be deleting their shields and their health really quickly. So, in terms of effectiveness in Steel Path, I think that the Viral and the Viral Hunter Munitions are about equal, and I think the Cold and Corrosive is just a little bit ahead. Because Grineer, for the most part, are weak to Corrosive. So, like I said, Viral by itself, just the viral damage itself with crit behind it is fine. But it's not like this weapon has IPS. If this thing had even just puncture with it, the viral build would be even better. Why do I say that? Because, you know, slash is the only status effect that actually matters. No. Because viral damage boosts damage to health. And puncture deals with armor pretty well. And puncture is actually just going to be adding more damage anyway. So that's just my personal opinion. You can feel free to disagree with me. So if you do not have a ribbon, I think your best bet to get even more damage will be heavy caliber, of course. But you know, yeah, fucking whatever. It was worth selling that set of Arcane Guardian. Didn't take that long, and I got 250 plat for it. Good deal. So, Glaxion Vandal with a ribbon. It's very good. Is this a weapon you should absolutely go after? If you like beam weapons, it's definitely a fun one to have. Because you're freezing enemies to death, essentially. Or streaming viral into their bloodstream pretty freaking directly. And I do think with a ribbon, this thing is, or even without, to be honest, in some circumstances, it might be more effective than the Ignis Wraith. Every single time I use the Ignis Wraith, I'm just like, damn, this thing used to be way stronger. What happened? Because I remember the Ignis Wraith used to just mop the floor with basically everything in the game, and it's why I used it so much. It would just delete hordes of enemies super quickly. Nowadays, not so much. I don't know what happened. Might just be the status changes because it used to just delete armor so fucking fast, and then the heat would take care of everything else. I don't know. So if you ever remember this weapon, critical chance and critical damage and base damage are probably going to be your best bets. It all really depends on you. Prime Shred gives it enough tick rate. I don't think going over 20 is going to give you that much more DPS, and it's just going to burn through ammo faster, so whatever. The Glaxion Vandal, and yeah, I put 5 form into this fucker. Glaxion Vandal, it is a very good beam weapon. So thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, in Trilby, we trust.